I'm Sydney.
And I'm Evan.
And this is Dude, It's Darwin, episode 7, where we are talking about...
constant communication in relationships. And by that we mean, this technological...
Technological age.
Yes, thank you, Sydney. There's so much social media, texting, we have so much access in getting a hold of somebody, even if it's long distance or it's, you both have jobs during the day. And it's always like, text me on your break, or I'm texting you while I'm working, or I'll Skype you even though I saw you a week ago or just last night. But yeah, the whole thing about that is that we're in such constant communication that you're getting a play-by-play, and some of it's even as informal as I posted on my social media, so you see what happened rather than me personally telling you at the end of the day. So if I'm keeping whoever I'm talking to up to date, then what's there to talk about at the end?
So something I notice at work is that there are the guys because I only work with guys, so don't think that this is sexist, but there are the guys who they don't talk to their significant others at all throughout the day. And then they go home and they spend time with each other, open a bottle of wine, whatever. And then there are the guys where we're in a meeting and they're getting calls from their significant others, or they're like, I've got a call, or whatever. And it's a constant, hey, how you doing? What's going on? I'm still at work. So we just think that whenever you're constantly in communication, yeah, at the end of the day, what is there to talk about that hasn't either been posted or told to you directly? Are we oversaturating ourselves with each other? I guess would be the question. There's little excitement when you do talk to them because you know everything that's happened. Because if you've been with someone for a long time, like I was in a long relationship, if you've been with someone for a long time, you know all their feelings, all their opinions for the most part, politically, religiously, things like that at the end of the day, what you have to talk about is your news of the day, especially in distance. So we believe that you need to be okay being alone, right?
Yeah, you need to be okay having your own life, whoever you're with having their life, and then together you can have your own life.
So I think that's the important thing, is to maintain that independence. That doesn't mean that you love them any less, but to me the most successful relationships are where you're confident with yourself, you're okay with being alone, that the other person has their own life that they've created for themselves. They're okay with being alone, and then together you make a life, with each other, and that's to me is a beautiful working relationship when you can balance all three of those. Yes. So actually, Evan has a theory about us constantly talking in our relationships, and whether or not that actually affects, because with the divorce rate so high, people break up after not being together for a very long time. And he actually has a theory about why this might be true.
So the whole theory is that every relationship has a shelf life, so many hours, minutes, whatever, of talking to each other. And, there was not so much divorce, 20 years ago, because, the only times you would talk would be at the end of the day, after work, over dinner. You would have a scheduled day night. And there was still excitement. And now with all this oversaturation, are you burning through those minutes? And is that why relationships go from, hi, I just met you, I think we're in love, after a week, and then you're broken up after 2 weeks, and then in love with the next person, quote unquote?
Is technology speeding up our relationships? Would be a question that you should ask yourself. And what are your thoughts about that? We'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Alright, so our current event of the week has to do with war. All over CNN and a lot of news outlets, we're seeing talk of whether or not we should go to war, wars that are happening in other countries, and battles that are constantly being fought. And our topic this week is if we think that America is desensitized to war.
Desensitized, and if we really even understand what it is. I mean, the younger generations obviously, have not really had any experience to it, but are they so desensitized with video games and CGI violence that it's just like almost some sort of a game? Because you'll hear comments like, "Oh, I play Modern Warfare" or something.
It's not even desensitized in that we think that they're gonna pick up a gun themselves and cause violence in their own way, but we mean so much as we don't understand the cost of war, and I don't mean in dollars. I mean in lives and innocence.
Yeah, the effect it actually has.
And I think it comes from the fact that we haven't had war fought on our soil. I mean, September 11th happened. Everyone was stunned. We're all up in arms. And then look at us now. We can't even remember it. We don't even think about it. And I think it's incredible. We think about it one day a year. Maybe. And sometimes it's just because someone mentions it. But I think for me in particular, I remember I was watching a World War II documentary, and there was this, I came out and I sat down on the couch and I was watching it, and there was this scene where this guy is standing in a field, and then he gets shot and he dies, just right there. And it just didn't faze me. I was like, oh, okay. But that was real footage, that someone was actually killed and I saw them die. But it didn't faze me. That doesn't make me a cruel person. That just means that it's so evident everywhere we look now. I mean, we went to see Kingsman this weekend.
It's so probably so desensitized to real footage because it's so exaggerated in the films. It's like blood splattering everywhere, the guy jumping backwards when he's shot, when in reality it's not the way it is in the movies.
And it's real. Like, you see the life go out of people's eyes. Where we saw, like, hundreds of people die in Kingsman. More violence than we were anticipating. But it's because we see so much of this that it doesn't even seem real when we see the real thing. And I think that war for America is an abstract concept that you only really understand if you've been there, or if you are friends with someone that's been there, or family with someone that's been there. I know I work with military servicemen and women every day in my job, and it's a whole different animal. And you really have to be thankful for the guys and gals that go out there and fight that war for us, so we can afford to be ignorant in our own country. And what Evan said was, go to war or not go to war as long as I have my Angry Birds. And it's pretty accurate for how we are right now, so. Our Darwin Moment of the Week this week goes to a young lady named Kayla Montgomery in North Carolina, and she is a medal-winning, a title-winning cross-country and track and field star who was diagnosed with MS at the ripe old age of 14. She used to play soccer, had to stop that, became a runner, and she went ahead and devoted herself to running, and even though as her body temperature rises, she starts to lose feeling in her legs, but she's managed to take home a lot of titles and prizes, and her coach actually catches her at the finish line of every race, which I think is pretty special. But she is our Darwin Moment of the Week because
didn't give up. Set a standard narcissistic.
There are so many chances for her to probably quit and break down and say that enough was enough, but she persevered and through adversity came out on top.
So many chances to make excuses or blame somebody else.
Right. She was not a victim to her disease. But so she is our Darwin Moment of the Week. Please tune in next Wednesday for episode 8. Again, I never know what we're talking about before we actually edit it. But remember that it does all start with a conversation.
Your actions can cause a movement.